College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, we are joined by senior and captain of the Maine women's hockey team, Morgan Trimper. Morgan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and how's everything going?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's all going well. First semester down and one more to go, so it's going well so far.
How sad is it that it's going to be your last semester, at least as an undergrad with Maine?
I know it doesn't really feel real. I feel like I just got here. Like 4 years, like when they say it goes by fast, it really does. I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, definitely does.
I don't think the pandemic helped too because it made things feel like 4 years ago feels so long ago, but yet it doesn't, which is kind of weird to think about it that way.
Yeah, that was like my sophomore year too, so it was kind of like right in the middle of like my career here, so it definitely broke it up a little bit, but yeah.
Well, and obviously your team's about to start the second half of your season. You guys have some games against Boston College coming up this week at the time of this recording. So I'm curious, how would you evaluate your team's performance as of now, especially since you guys ended off the first half of the season very well, sweeping Boston University?
Yeah, I think we're honestly on a good coming into the new semester on a high note. I think coming off the Clarkson and BU sweep was really important for our team. I think it gave us kind of some energy going into the second semester. We all were back a week early. We were doing double sessions leading up to this week, so I think we're all prepared and ready to go and know how much this semester will affect our ranking and standings and chances of being in playoffs and hosting playoffs. So I think we're all dialed in, ready to go.
Yeah, and you've never hosted a playoff in your career, so how much would that mean to get the chance to do that?
Yeah, I've never hosted one. We've been close a couple times, but like we've had a good year so far, and it's definitely something that's a possibility if we continue to play well and do well. So I think the fact that I know we can do it makes it even more like special that I'm like, oh, like we can actually do this and have something that we haven't done before. So I'm definitely excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that's a huge advantage for your team because it's not an easy road trip heading up to Maine. So obviously you guys will have some fresh legs for that playoff game.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely an advantage being way up north. We definitely are used to traveling, so it's not as bad for us when we have to go places, but teams hate coming here. They hate playing us here.
Now, obviously, this year is a little bit different for yourself because one reason is you're the captain. I'm
hmm
curious how you found out. How did you find out you were going to be the captain, and what type of leadership have you tried to bring to the team? Are you more of a vocal leader or lead by example type of player?
Yeah, so our team kind of did like a team vote, and then our coaches voted, and just was announced to everyone at the end of the spring semester after spring training. And, going into the summer, we had a lot of changes with our coaching staff and like pretty much everyone in our whole staff, strength coaches, trainers, everyone. So definitely had a lot of responsibility over the summer to keep everyone on the same page so that the new coaching staff coming in could start off on a solid foundation. And I'm definitely a little bit of a combo. I think I'm definitely a more vocal leader. I speak up and not afraid to do so, but I'm also definitely a lead by example kind of person. I feel like you gotta walk the walk if you're gonna be able to talk the talk. So definitely do that. Little combo of both, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's good leadership skills to have as a captain. I feel like it's good to have both because I feel like there's definitely advantages for being a lead by example type of player or lead by vocal player, but to have both, I think that definitely is a much better, I guess, asset for your team to have than just have a leader that's only like geared towards one thing. I feel like that's more meant for assistant captains.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and place for both. You use them both, but at different points.
And was it weird going through a coaching transition during the summer? And how'd you like handle that challenge, especially being a leader on the team?
Yeah, it was definitely later in the summer, I think, than maybe the typical coaching change usually is. But my goal with all of the changes that were happening was just to keep the team on the same page, to create a good like team motto and have our four words that we really live by. And we had team meetings, culture development. I really tried to keep everyone together with that, just so that the coaches who were coming in had our whole team already on the same page, and whatever they decided to do with it, they can do. I totally respected that and wanted to make it such an easy transition for them coming in because it was also late for a coach to come in to a new team and basically have a week to prepare before games. So I think that was something that I really took pride in over the summer and wanted to make sure um, that our team was able to accomplish. And I think we did a pretty good job of doing that. So, yeah.
And what's it like playing under Coach Engstrom? What's is she's does her coaching style differ from other coaches you've had in the past?
She's a very detail-oriented coach, which I think is such an importance, especially in the game today. I think she really narrows it down to like skating, like back to basics. She really wants us to perfect the basic stuff to be able to perform and be able to, expand on the more um, dynamic stuff. I think that she came in and she obviously was a top player when she was playing, in the Olympics and in her college career. And I have extreme respect for her as a player. I think as a coach, you can really see those aspects of her own game that she really took pride and carry over into her coaching. But yeah, her detail oriented type coaching style and she's very effective on the ice. Our practices are run very quickly, very smoothly. We get through a lot of stuff and I really respect her as a coach. She's done really well with our girls so far, and I think everyone on the team agrees with that.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in Hockey East this year and just the competition that you face every weekend.
Yeah, Hockey East. I've been around Hockey East since I was a little kid, like watching games and being at the rink. And this this year specifically, it is the most like I have no idea what's going to happen. Any team can be any team. Like I know Northeastern's been the front runner for a majority of my time here, but I feel like this year I couldn't even tell you who the top 5 teams will be at the end of the regular season. Like it changes every single week. Teams beat teams. Like it's insane how much I like couldn't even predict what could happen.
Yeah, and obviously your team's been pulling off some upsets as well this year. One of
Yep.
those being against Northeastern when you beat them 1-0, and then obviously you beat Clarkson. I'm curious, talk about those upsets and what they mean for the team and what it takes to get those wins and how you try to build off them as the regular season progresses.
Yeah, we have to know our opponents. We have to be able to capitalize on their weaknesses. And I think, our wins against Northeastern and Clarkson were huge. We had a win against UConn. Those games are just such momentum builders, and you want to run off of those and to know that you can beat some of those top teams in the league or the country are such motivators. And, if you can beat those teams, then you should be able to beat every other team. But, it depends on the day. You can also get beaten by a lesser team any day. So it doesn't really matter. You just got to be ready to play every game and be prepared to win every game and go in expecting nothing less than that.
Yeah, and that sort of leads me into my next question, but what are your goals and expectations for the rest of the season? And what's your mindset heading into the rest of the season, knowing that you're a senior and this could be your last dance in some way?
Yeah. I think one of our realistic goals that we're trying to achieve this year is to host a playoff game. Um, a goal that I want is obviously to win Hockey East. I think that out of the 4 years I've been here with this team and our talent and our standards that we have for each other, I think this is the most capable team of doing that. But yeah, definitely hosting a Hockey East playoff game. I think that's something that if we can really dial in and do well these next couple of weekends, that should be definitely achievable. And then I think from that point forward, just playoffs is a new season. You can win Hockey East and be the last place team in playoffs. So I think from there, just yeah, focus on playoffs, focus on getting to that championship game, but also taking it game by game because you never know what happens with these teams. So, but yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Now let's transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you are today in college. So, growing up, it says that you're from Maine, Bangor. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So, talk about growing up in Maine and how'd you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so I was originally born in New York and then I moved to Maine when I was 5. My dad actually coaches baseball, college baseball, and he coached at the University of Maine for 12 years. So my sister and I would be stuck at work with him, and we would get sent to the rink every day to get away from the baseball field. And so Coach Whitehead, actually, his daughter, Natalie Whitehead, was the same age as Allie and I. And so he would let us, Tim Whitehead would suit us up and just throw us, all 3 of us on the ice and just say, go like skate around, have fun, occupy yourselves for a couple hours. So for a year or two, we were young, so we would just go out and skate, like whatever players. I remember Darling and all of them, like they just mess around with us on the ice and just have fun. And then we got into boys hockey around here because there's no girls teams. So we played on the boys hockey teams here growing up, and then we got the opportunity to go to Taft. And that was kind of the point in our career that we wanted to take it more serious and, have the potential of going to play college hockey. But yeah, it's kind of how it's all started with Tim Whitehead. He's the one who got us into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously, how cool is it being a kid getting to skate at Alphon because it's one of the most iconic ranks in college hockey, but that's kind of cool that you just got to do it as a free time, just to pass time.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's like looking back at it, I think also being from Maine and growing up playing here and then playing here in college, I just appreciate it so much more than I ever would have thought, especially when I was younger, because I was a 7-year-old girl just going around and skating and had a whole sheet of free ice at Alphon, like just messing around. So now that I'm actually a player here, I'm like, no one gets to do that. No one has that opportunity. So it was really special.
Who are some of the players you got to skate with when you were a kid, if you can remember? Because every
Mhm.
time I watch an NHL game, there's some random player that's played at Maine, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. So I'm curious if you had the chance to actually skate with them back when they were in college.
Yeah, Nyquist, I remember he was around a lot. I'm trying to think back. I was so young, but Scotty Darling was around. Jimmy Howard was around when I was really young. A lot of the NHL guys were the ones I could remember, but like Tanner House, I remember him coming out a couple times. Um, yeah, I just remember when I was really young, me, Allie, and Natalie all like got in our little gear, our pink hockey sticks, and we were skating. And I think the guys must have had practice or something, and just had three little bobblehead, like pink, dressed up in pink girls skating on the ice with all these guys. But yeah, a couple of them I remember really well. But yeah, those are a couple that we skated with a couple times.
I feel like the guys that I probably watch in the NHL today, you're probably too old for to play practice with them back in the day, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yeah.
Did you have a favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the main hockey team, or was it a player in the NHL? Like, who was someone you kind of idolized, or was it a women's player on the national
It was
team?
actually a women's player. I loved like Hillary Knight. I thought she was the coolest girl ever. I thought she was like girl power, like loved her style of hockey. She just kind of was a badass and I just loved her. So I
I
always
think
kind
she
of looked.
still is pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, she still is cool. She still is a badass, but yeah, she was definitely someone I looked up to and really idolized when I was growing up playing.
Now, before college hockey, like you mentioned, you played for Taft School, and that's when you said how you sort of got more serious about playing after high school. So I'm curious how you got the opportunity to go to Taft, and what's the process like from switching from boys to girls hockey?
Yeah, I mean, being from Northern Maine, I didn't even really know what prep school was. I think we have Hebron and Kents Hill in Southern Maine, but there was a girl who played boys hockey with us, and she was, I think, 5 or 6 years older than us. It was Katie McGoughlin. She actually ended up coaching at Colby College for a couple years after, but she went to Taft and we kind of picked her brain a little bit about it and then started looking around and realized how many prep schools and different options, different types of prep schools there were. So we looked at a ton of them just to see, like, it was almost like the college process, to be honest. And we found Taft and we just loved it there. Um, Drew Powell, actually, he was from Bangor, Maine. He was a really good golfer and he went there as well. So we kind of followed in his tracks to Taft. And there, Coach Silverman, she was on the Nagano Olympic women's team. She was our coach. And she was definitely an influential coach in my career. She definitely helped me realize I wanted to take it more serious. And then from there, kind of followed to Maine. But yeah.
Yeah, and what's the transition like, I guess, from boys to girls hockey? Because obviously, I'm curious if you stopped playing when hitting started, or if you played a little bit of boys hockey when the hitting began, and if
Yeah.
that was sort of a transition, sort of being less physical, going to
Yeah.
girls hockey and sort of using your skating ability more than your physical ability.
Yeah, I played boys up through I think the first year of midgets. So I definitely wasn't hitting. I played on the boys varsity team at my high school as a freshman and sophomore, and then when I went to Taft, I obviously played girls. But I think my sister and I led the league that we were in prep school our first year in penalties. So we did transition well the first year, but then we kind of got the hang of it. It was definitely the physicality was definitely different. Obviously, being a really tiny freshman on a boys team, I was prepared to get hit every second and had to definitely be strong on my skates. So I think translating that to girls hockey, it was definitely harder to get hit. Like I felt more strong and stable on my skates, but definitely learning to lay off a little bit and learning how to hit more through the hands and use my body to be able to get the puck and do something with it as opposed to full on body checking someone. Um, but I think the speed of the game, obviously, for guys was faster. And transitioning to girls, I think that was almost an asset. I had to step on other girls and was able to move quicker. But then again, the transition from playing girls in prep to playing college hockey, it's felt like going from girls to boys. Like it was just the speed at college is just so much faster. The physicality is more aggressive. Even this year, refs will talk and be like, we're going to let you play. Like unless we really need to call something and it's getting out of hand, we won't call anything that we feel is unsafe or anything like that. So they're definitely letting us play more, even from my freshman year to now. Like it's changed a lot.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like a lot of times, and the reason I actually think hitting should be allowed in women's hockey is because I feel like a ref can determine a lot about how a game is played, whether they're strict on body checking or not. So if a
Yep.
ref's really strict about body checking, then they'll call a lot of penalties, and that'll obviously change how the game is played versus a
Yep.
ref that isn't. And I feel like if you just got rid of the whole checking rule, it'd make it easier to have a ref not really control the game and just let the players play. And I feel like you girls would learn pretty quickly how to like check and take a hit and all that stuff. And I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think it would affect the game that much, but I know some people are very much against it. So I know that's sort of a controversial opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, coming from boys and playing girls, I think I see both sides, but I think it would make the game a lot like easier to play almost. I feel like when I played boys, you go into the boards and you were expecting it, you knew how to get hit. I think girls, if they do allow it, would need to learn like how to go into the boards, but I almost think it's more dangerous when you start playing and you start being able to be more aggressive and being able to hit and being able to body check and you don't know how to get hit. I think that's when it gets dangerous. But I think if
Hmm.
it's allowed, it's something that would be an asset to the game.
What's the biggest body check that you've ever had in your career, if you can remember?
I remember I was playing actually boys hockey. It was in high school, and I think it was my freshman year. So I was like maybe 100-pound freshman. Like I was tiny my freshman year, and I remember I just looked up and I saw this kid skating straight at me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I just like braced myself, and I was like a couple feet off the boards, and I just remember getting hit and just like straight into the boards. Like it was I should have been either on the boards or way off of the boards, and I was right in the middle. Um, so I was probably the worst hit that I've had. Yeah. But my
You
sister and
never.
I, when we played boys, were very like protective of each other. The guys who were on our team were very protective, and if anyone hit us that hard, they were right behind us, ready to hit them. So yeah.
Well, one of the games I grew a lot of respect for you was there was a game against Providence this year where you got checked pretty hard. I don't know if you remember it. And you got up and you started playing, and I was like, I like number three. She was like one of my favorite players. So that's so I remember that. I don't know if you
Thank
remember
you.
that
Yeah.
game at all.
Yeah, no, I just, my parents, when, especially when we played boys, but even still, like the rule was unless you're knocked out or broke a bone, get back up so we know you're okay and get the puck. So yeah, every time I get knocked down, unless I'm hurting, I'm back up.
No, I have a lot of respect because I
Yeah.
feel like I watch soccer sometimes and like these guys like go down and like you think they're dying, but then they get back up. And I
Yeah.
feel like flopping's starting to become a little more too much in hockey. So whenever I see some player just can take a hit and step back up, my
Yeah.
respect levels go through the roof for that player.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, getting back to your career at Taft, I'm just curious, what was your experience like there, and what's the best memory you have when you think back to your prep school days?
Yeah, Taft, I had a great experience there. I thought it was very different from the public school that I had gone to before. The academics were a lot harder, but I think that made me really focused and, hone in on the things I really needed to, become better at to be able to be a better athlete. And my hockey career there was, I think, something really special. I think being under Coach Silverman and learning from an Olympian was something that not a lot of girls get to do. One of my best memories from Taft, I feel like Taft was such a diverse school. I think that was the best thing that I like took away from the school was our team here is very diverse. We have girls from Europe, we have Canada, we have, everywhere around like the world. And I think at Taft we had such a diverse community there. I met people from, China, Korea, different countries in Europe, like all over the map. And I think that was just something that not a lot of people honestly get to interact with every day. So I really appreciated that and have that as a good memory of mine.
Now, I do want to ask you this question, but you've got to play with your twin sister, Allie, in prep school and college.
Yep.
What's it been like to share your hockey experience with your twin sister, and what's she like as a teammate?
Yeah, she's very similar to me. But it's definitely been a special experience. We have another set of twins on our team as well, the Welkies from Germany, and we always ask them like, "Oh, like, do you guys have like a telepathy like us?" Like sometimes like you play with each other for so long. We've been on the same line for 10 years, 12 years, and I feel like you just kind of get a second sense of where each other is on the ice. So it's definitely special to be able to play with them. And I honestly can't imagine a hockey career season without her. It's like weird to think about because we've just been doing the same thing for our whole life, pretty much, whole career.
Now, are you the older sim twin or the younger twin?
I am younger by 2 minutes.
Oh, does she
I'm,
use that against you? I feel
oh,
like
yeah,
that must happen.
everything for everything. Yeah.
Now I know she's not on the podcast right now, but I have to ask, is there any funny stories with your twin sister, whether it's in college, that you would like to share? I feel like there's got to be a few, or growing up.
Funny stories of my twin. Hmm. Well, when we played boys, our we used to do like a yearly prank on our team, and Allie and I decided to do the clear tape on the bottom of the skates to one of our teammates. And I feel like it was once a year we would choose like our culprit for the year, and so that was kind of something we did together. That was really funny. Um, but in college, I don't know, just everything. I feel like every day there's like little things that we do that are just special and funny, and I don't know. I can't even think of any right now. I have to think.
That's pretty cool though, because usually it's pretty rare for siblings to play on the same college team
Yeah.
together, just because of the way things work with recruiting and stuff. So that's kind of cool that you get to do that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely special and something we don't take for granted because it will be over at some point in our career. And, it's something we'll always be able to look back on and appreciate.
And now, speaking of the recruiting process, talk about what it was like for yourself.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have an idea of why you chose Maine, but how did they approach you, and what made you choose Maine versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, so Ricky and Sarah were the coaches that recruited me and my sister, and I grew up going to the Maine hockey camps. We went through all of the coaching staffs that Maine has had for the last 12 years, and um, Ricky and Sarah were the coaches that had originally recruited us before we went to Taft. They were kind of, "Oh, are you guys serious about hockey in general? Like, what are you guys planning on doing?" And they were the ones who suggested maybe looking into prep school. So we stayed in contact kind of just through prep school and summer camps and would see them each year. And then it was my junior year of high school that Allie and I were ready to look into schools and, finally decided on Maine and wanted to go back to kind of our roots and committed. I think it was my winter of my um, junior year of high school. So yeah, that was kind of how it happened.
And you talk about how it was a big adjustment going from prep to college. What was like the biggest adjustment that you had to make, and how did you do it? Was it the speed of the game, physicality? Because it is a more physical game in college than prep, or was it just the decision making? Since it's so fast, you have to make quicker decisions with the puck.
Yeah. It was definitely decision making. It was definitely speed of the game. Everything that you were good at in high school, you had to be 10 times faster to be good at in college. So I think it just overall speed of the game. I've focused on and still am focusing on my shooting. You have to be able to beat goalies and be deceptive. And that's something that I've been working on my entire career, even here, and I'm still trying to get better at. But yeah, I would just say overall speed, everything just needs to be quicker, faster. You need to be stronger. Girls are way stronger in college than in high school. So definitely like strength training outside of the ice and outside of the rink. But yeah.
Luckily, you have some really good goalies in Maine that it's pretty easy to practice your shot, because if you can score on them, then you can score on a lot of goalies in the country.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the last couple of years. I mean, we have Jordan, we have Lauren last year was our goalie. We've had some good goalies come through. So yeah, definitely get good practice every day.
Now, during your freshman year, you won your first playoff series, beating Boston University on the road. Talk
Mhm.
about that series and how it's helped you for your next 3 years with Maine.
Yeah, every single year since that year, I've stepped into the BU rank. I'm like, oh my God, I remember freshman year in double overtime, we beat BU. It was just such a special game. And I think literally every time we go there, I'm just always am thinking about that game. But yeah, going into like this year, every year we play well against BU. We just swept them. And, I don't know if it's because our mentality from freshman year. I think my class and the class above me, we always think back to that game. We're skating around during warm-ups and we're like, do you remember how crazy that was? Like, it was insane.
Yeah, no, I don't remember watching that game, but I do remember seeing it on a Pat Shea video blog, which I thought was
Yeah.
pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever seen that video of him like watching it. So
Yeah.
that's sort of my memory, and just the guy like in the stands jumping, like
Oh my gosh.
that was awesome.
It was the like most insane. Like my stomach literally hurt from like just screaming, cheering, like everything. It was just like it was felt like the longest but quickest day slash game ever. Like it was insane.
Now your team seems to be always in a good playoff team because you guys have pulled off a lot more upsets since that BU series.
Yep.
You beat Vermont during the COVID year, and
Yep.
then just last year you beat BC on the road, which not a lot of people expected that. So I'm
Yep.
curious, how does your team prepare for those playoff games, especially being a road underdog like you guys are?
Yeah, I think part of our kind of dynamic at Maine. Like we're gritty university, we're a gritty team, we're a gritty program. Like we have to travel far for all of our games, and so road trips don't really phase us anymore. Like you tell us we got to play to Vermont, like 6 hours. Sure, we'll hop on a bus and be ready to go. But I think for us personally as a team, like when playoffs hit, like it's a new season. Like it doesn't matter if you finished in first place or if you finished in last place. Like regular season's over and this is your chance and you got to run with it. So we just try to go into the games and have a clear mind and just, it's every minute counts, every second counts, every period. So just take it one at a time and kind of build your way up the ladder.
Yeah, no, I think in Hockey East, especially regular season, you play well to set yourself up to be
Yeah.
successful in the playoffs because that's when it all counts. And especially this year, like you said, there's so much parity that I wouldn't be surprised if like one of those bottom seeds ends up beating like a second or third seed in the playoffs this year. But especially with the single elimination, I feel like that's more likely to happen.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I would say so as well.
Now, individually, you've improved a lot since your freshman year, especially last year. You had your career total, most points in your career in a single season. Talk about what you think your biggest improvement has been since your freshman year and how you've gone about it in the off season.
Yeah, I think my freshman year, obviously, I was younger and had a lot of development to be able to get to the point that I am now. But my speed definitely increased. I worked really hard over the summer to make sure I was able to improve my agility, my speed on the ice, be able to get around players. I am definitely a smaller player, so being able to use my size and speed to my advantage was something I needed to learn to do. I think also just, getting my head up and making plays. I definitely am more of an assister. I definitely like to set people up and, make the pass, make the play. So I definitely have made that a priority and being dynamic with um, my play, what I can do. So those have been things that have taken a lot of attention and time to do, in season and out of season, and extra sessions during the year, to get better at.
And what's the process like, I guess, going through decision making? Because I think it's good to be a pass first player, but at the same time, if the shot's there and you can score, you sort of have to take it. So how do you like make your mindset to not just be like pass if there's an opportunity for you to score?
Yeah, I think, since freshman year, that's something I've always had to work on. I think getting your head up, honestly, is one of the most important things that, you tend to forget when you're thinking about all the other little detailed things that you need to do. But, being able to do things with your head up allows you to be able to see the space that you have in front of you, be able to see the pass, be able to take advantage of the ice. I think also, being selfish at times was a hard thing for me, especially my freshman year. But, it's okay to take that shot. It's okay to score a goal. Like, it's okay to celebrate and do that when it's there. So I think almost learning to play a little more selfish was something that really my sophomore year I really took a lot of time to learn to do, and I think that definitely was a changing point in my style.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So first one is obviously when we're recording this, the Winter Classic is going on. So where would you like to see an outdoor game being played?
Ooh, Florida. That's
That
where
would be cool. I don't know how they'll
I don't know how you
make
make
that
that
work
work, but
in.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was thinking about this. Camden Yards, it's where the Orioles play. I think that's a really nice ballpark. And then have
Yeah.
like the Capitals versus someone else. Obviously, that's not going to happen because they just announced that next year's Winter Classic will be in Seattle. But I just think it would be cool for Ovechkin to break the goal scoring record outside in a Winter Classic at like a very iconic ballpark. So that's sort of what
Yeah.
I would have done. But I think
Yeah.
Seattle's pretty cool, somewhere
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Seattle would be neat.
Now, what is your most embarrassing moment that you can think of?
Ooh. Well, actually, I just had it a couple of, I think it was last week. We had double sessions on the ice, and I haven't done this in like since I was a kid, but I was so like focused walking out to the ice. I think I was in a conversation with someone, and I ran out onto the ice, and I still had my skate guards on,
Oh,
and completely wiped out. And like I haven't like that's like the worst thing to do as a hockey player, and I did it, and I haven't done that in a really long time.
my most embarrassing hockey moment would probably be like we were doing backwards skating drills and
Mm.
someone forgot to close the bench door and I fell inside the
Oh,
bench, which was pretty tough. But it's either that or like non-hockey wise, I accidentally went to the wrong graduation party. So it's pretty awkward going into like a backyard, seeing no one I recognize. So it's one of those two moments for me.
oh. Actually, yeah, non-hockey, I also did this year. I had my car parked outside, and someone had the exact same car parked next to my car, and I was like on the phone distracted, and they left it unlocked, and I got in the car and I turned it on and I started to drive, and I realized it wasn't actually my car. And so I had to
How does
drive back.
the keys work for the same model? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
mine it was same like it was like not like a automatic start. It was like a normal key, and it worked. So I thought it was my car, and I drove off and realized it wasn't.
Well, luckily,
I run it.
luckily they didn't like get too mad about that. I hope.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I mean, yeah, they left it unlocked, so I was kind of like, probably should lock your car.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now, who has the best style on the Maine women's hockey team besides yourself?
Ooh, Cora Weber, she's a freshman. She definitely has really good style. My sister, she has good style. I'd probably say those two. They probably have the best.
Nice. Who's the funniest on the team?
Funniest would probably be Anna LaRose. She's our goalie. Um, she's always making everyone laugh. She's like the team clown. She's always doing something that makes all of us like just die laughing. So I'd say her, yeah.
Which teammate is the worst at responding to their phone?
Ooh, worst at responding. Mm, well, probably from this summer, the internationals, because they are in a different time zone. So I'd be texting them and it'd be like in like 3 in the morning there, and I'd be like, why aren't they answering me? It's because it's 6 hours behind us. But yeah, probably in general, like now that we're all in America, um, I don't know, probably Anna Como. She's our Italian. Probably her.
What music do you like to listen to before a game?
Ooh, before a game, our favorite team song that we listen to is Pump It Up. It's also when we score a goal, what they play on the loudspeaker. Um, yeah, probably that one. We all get really pumped up for that.
Uh, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Actually being home in Florida, it got so cold, and I didn't know that when it gets below a certain temperature, iguanas fall from the trees. So that was probably the most interesting that I've read or saw in the news was they were warning everyone to watch out for falling iguanas out of trees
Wow.
because it was cold, which I didn't know that.
Did you see any fall?
No, I kind of wish I did because I feel like I that's just something I've never seen before, but I didn't have any fall near me.
I just think that would be like crazy if you're like you don't even know about it, you're just walking home from like a bad day
Yeah.
and an iguana falls on your head.
They're also like huge. Like they're big. They actually are pretty big. So I was like, if that thing fell next to me, I'd probably be a little more scared than like surprised. But
Yeah,
yeah, they're pretty big.
that's pretty interesting actually. I never knew
Yeah,
that myself.
didn't know that. Yeah.
I guess this is so boring is probably like watching the ice get made at Fenway Park. I don't know why. I just think it's cool how they do it. So
Yeah.
that's probably the most interesting thing I've seen, but I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that by now.
Yeah. That would be cool though.
And then last non-hockey question is if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Ooh. If I could have lunch with anyone? Mm, probably. Ooh, gosh, I don't know. Probably some sort of pro athlete or sports like legend.
Yeah.
I don't know one, but I feel like I would have so much to talk about with them, and I'd want to pick their brain about everything.
Want to say Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, maybe Wayne Gretzky. I don't know. Even like I feel like Michael Jordan, like that. I feel like just their mindsets are so interesting to me. I
Hmm.
feel like they would be really a cool person to have lunch with.
Yeah, I think that would be cool to have lunch with Tom Brady, but at the same time, he's sort of a weird guy, so I don't know what we would be having. So I don't know if like if I would want to have lunch, more just like a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is for all the younger listeners that are listening to this podcast. What advice would you give them about how to get to where you are today as a Division One hockey player?
Hmm. How to get to where I am today? I think the biggest thing since when I was little till now was you like putting in hard work is one of the biggest things that can pay off in the future. Like if you build a good work ethic and you have a mindset, a determined mindset, growth mindset from a young age, you can develop yourself so much better than someone who might not have a strong mindset. I think that's something that I always go back to, especially even now when I'm trying to like perfect things or get better in hockey, outside of hockey. I think it's something that you can use in every aspect of your life. But I think definitely having a hardworking, gritty growth mindset is essential, pretty much.
Now, what should be done to help grow women's hockey, in your opinion?
I think that to help grow the sport, I think just more people need to know about it. I feel like a lot of times, like even at our college, like people are like, oh, like you're on the women's team. We have a women's team, and I'm like, yeah, like we have a D1 women's team. We're actually pretty good. So I was like, I just feel like in general, this sport needs to be talked about more. It needs to be advertised more. It needs to be broadcasted more. I think it just needs to be out there for everyone to see more. Um, so yeah, I feel like it just needs to be talked about more.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to any of your teammates, former teammates, friends, family members, anyone that might not play hockey, or if there's anything you want to talk about, the floor is all yours.
I feel like the two people would be my parents, my mom and my dad. I just think back to when I was first starting to play and how much they sacrificed to be able to have allow for both my sister and I to play. With no girls teams being in Maine, we would have to drive down to like Boston every weekend, which that's a 4 hour drive from here. So they definitely had to sacrifice weekends and holidays and Christmas and Thanksgiving and all those special days to be able to allow us to play and get to this point. So I think if it wasn't for them, I absolutely would not be playing, especially D1. So I really appreciate all that they've sacrificed to give my sister and I the opportunity to play.
Well,
But
thank you
yeah,
so
those,
much. Oh,
yeah,
well, thank you so much, Morgan, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself, and I wish you and your teammates nothing but the best for the rest of the season. I know you guys are going to do great, and yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, one question I want to ask you before I end the recording